Is my child ambidextrous? Left or right? Left or right? They use both hands. Before we get into those tips, you know what's really weird about me is that I can't really wink with my right eye. I see you. There she blows. This could also be used as a megaphone, but I do not encourage this. Hi, this is Amy Baez, pediatric occupational therapist and founder of Playapy, speaking to you from my home to yours with an episode of Tips and Topics. Today I have a special tip for you, and it is related to a question that I often receive from parents. And that question is my child ambidextrous? The answer to that question overwhelmingly is usually no. And the reason why is because most people are not ambidextrous. In fact, only about 1% of people are. And that is because being ambidextrous does not mean that you can use both hands. It means that you are proficient in using both hands equally. And that is not very common. What you are normally seeing is that a child is switching hands back and forth. And the reason why is because they usually haven't developed a dominant hand. Now, hand dominance usually comes around the age of 6. But what you see before that point is a hand preference, and that usually starts around age 2. Why this is important is because children usually use one hand as a doer and one as a stabilizer, and the doer is usually their dominant hand. And so what we're having a problem with is that parents are usually trying to decide which hand their child should write with. And the answer is usually not clear when their child is switching from hand to hand. So what I want you to pay attention to is whether your child is drawing on the same side of their hand or the opposite. If they are drawing on the right side and then they see something that they want to color that's on the left side and they switch over to their left hand, the chances are that they're having difficulty crossing the midline of the body. And it's not so much that they prefer to use the left hand. And so one of the things that we do is we actually advise that a parent just put a crayon like right in the middle of them. Don't put it to the right side or the left side. Just put it in the middle of them and see how they pick it up. Let them choose. What happens is that because most of us are right-handed, we tend to give things to a child instantly in their right hand, and they tend to prefer that hand. And let's be honest, our world is really designed for right-handers. So a lot of their environment is already staged for someone who is right-handed. So one of the tips I have for you is to determine whether a child is right-handed or left-handed by determining if they are right-eyed or left-eyed. So what does that mean? I want you to roll up a piece of paper into a tube shape, just like a telescope. You're gonna roll it up and you're just gonna bring it right up to your eye, like so. What happens is you pick typically the dominant eye that you have. So for me, it was my right eye. Now, I can look out of my left eye, but I struggle a bit before I can do it. It is a little bit harder for me to look through the tube because naturally my right eye is stronger. Now, sometimes you might have a child who may not be able to focus their eyes enough to look through one hole, or they may not have a preferred eye yet. So you might see them do something like this. Not very effective. So in that case, I have them look through a piece of paper with a hole in it about the size of an inch and have them choose an eye to look through. Now, you can't really see me too well, but I have to pick an eye in order to see through the paper. Again, you're going to end up turning and looking through the paper with a particular eye. And that is usually your stronger eye. And if you noticed, I am also right-eyed and right-handed. So this isn't always the case. Sometimes children have mixed eye dominance with their hands, and it makes it a little more challenging for them to learn how to write and do other things, but it sometimes happens. But what I want you to look at is your family history. Does your family have left-handedness? If they do, maybe the child is left-handed. There's a stronger likelihood if they are. Another thing you can do is check for foot dominance. And I often will place a ball 3 feet in front of a child and ask them to repeatedly kick it to see what foot they choose to kick with. And that usually helps me to determine whether they have a foot dominance. What we often see is that the eye, hand, and foot dominance often fall on the same side of the body, but it doesn't always happen that way. So this may be helpful for most of you, but for some of you, it may still be a little bit confusing, and you may need to work on determining that hand preference in other ways and a little bit more. So I hope you find this information helpful. You can learn more about child development and all kinds of other skills at playapy.com. I also invite you to leave us a comment. Do you notice that you have a mixed eye-hand dominance? Or did you learn how to be right-handed even though maybe you're left-handed? There's all kinds of stories out there, and we'd love for you to share your story. In the meantime, I hope to see you soon, and I hope you have a playful day.